Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me and see me well? Just give me, well, not a thumbs up, maybe a thumbs up if you have a virtual thumbs up, or just anything to let me know that everything's okay. Good. Thanks, Jane. Okay. Thank you. Oh, good. Oh, good. So, welcome back, friends. Welcome back to our little Dharma hole. Yes. Welcome back, Caroline. You were just noticing that Christopher was in his stamp drinking tea. Now I'm drinking coffee, so we're all having our little thing here. Hope you're all having your little tea too. So, welcome back. Warm welcome if there's any of you coming for the first time or coming back after a long period of absence. Welcome to those who will be listening this through the recording. Last day of the week, exploring the general theme of fear and fearlessness, specifically with Christopher, noticing that fear is not what you think it is. And yes, I'm not going to take too long. Christopher will lead the session right away. You know that by the end you'll have some time for questions. If there are some questions left unanswered, well, Christopher will address that too. If you want to ask your questions at the end, please write question in capital letters so I can, see what's a question, what's a comment. Or you can try it come on screen if that talks to you. I'll try to do that. If you click on the virtual hand on the bottom of the screen, I'll make my best to bring you on. And yes, last day of the week, so as Martin would say, it's Dana Drum Day. So just a little, I'm not as good as a drummer as he is, but just emphasize the fact that this platform, all of this that happens here, this Sangha, this wonderful and fluid exchange of good wish and practice happens, freely offered, not free of cost. There's a lot of costs to run this platform. And it's kind of a miracle for me how it still works and it's thriving and it's getting bigger and there's more people and more projects, more ideas. So yeah, we're very grateful for every single donation that comes this way, because that's the only way we can keep on doing this. And it supports us, it supports many of the Sangha who are doing a lot of things for free. It supports the teachers who donate their time, their wisdom. So if your heart feels inclined at this very tail of the week to donate something, and after a very careful and gentle discussion with your finances, with your pocket, well, please feel free to do so. I will let you have the link. If not, all good. That's what we're here for. It's just to sustain and support each other. Stay with us. Keep on assisting and being here for the sessions. And yeah, that's it. Wishing you all a very good session, a very good weekend. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Good morning to you, if it's morning where you are. Yeah, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. I smiled when George quoted Martin about the drum. The Buddha, he's in a good tradition. The Buddha said he beat the drum of deathlessness. He beat the drum of deathlessness. And in a way, I'll be talking a little bit about that today. And much as I love Ringo Starr, the drummer of the Beatles, and the late beloved Charlie Watts, the drummer of the Rolling Stones, not quite in the same league as the drum of deathlessness. During the days, you have kindly placed in the questions of the chat, the questions in the chat. I was not able to answer them all. George is going to give me a list of the questions unanswered, and I'm going to go through each one during today in audio, and that will be made available to you. So don't hesitate to put as many questions with that word question in capitals as was mentioned to you. Let's first have a quiet minute together. From time to time, I will be sipping my chai. Having spent more than 7 years in total in spiritual India, I am one of those blessed enough to be a chai wale. Chai, garam chai, hot chai, hot chai. All right, maybe reasonably hot Dharma talk. So there's the teaching in the beginning. There is the question and answer period. Sorry, there's the guided meditation and then the question period. And I intend to make that a bit longer today than yesterday. So with the teaching itself, we've had different themes over the days, and this on the 5th day and the final session together. It's on the emptiness of fear. I would like to begin talking to you in terms of the bare actuality in the field of human existence. And we have these senses, remarkable senses, in fact, quite distinct from each other and with a common factor of being human in this. So there is the seer, that means the one who sees, with all the influences that come to the seer. There is the seeing via the eyes, E-Y-E-S, and there is that which is seen. There's the seer, the seeing, and the seen. There is the hearer, the hearing, and the heard. There is the smeller, the smelling, and the smelt. There is the taster, the tasting, and the tasted. There is the touch, the touching, and that which is touch, physical world. And we go inwardly as well. There is, shall we say, the observer. There is the one, so to speak, who is mindful. And there is the, quote unquote now, say, the seeing and that which is seen. So we have the opportunity to, quote unquote, see our feelings, our emotions, our sensations, our thoughts, our varieties of states of mind, and more. And that's it. That's what we have to deal with. To claim there is something outside beyond all of that is a claim with the thought. To claim there is something deeper than that is another viewpoint. So we live in this world of the seer, seeing and seen, and all of that. That is what we have to deal with. It's not actually a lot. It's fired through the senses and the inner world, which also can be seen clearly as well. In the looking at that, sometimes the seer, the hearer, and so forth, is significantly under the influence, as spoken previous days with you, of the past. And that affects what we see, what we hear, and so forth. The view which arises towards the viewer, putting it into a language of self for a moment, the viewer looks, experiences, looks at, connects with, responds to that which is seen, heard, and so forth there. Therefore, the view is as primary in its significance as that, the viewing, shall we call it, and that which is viewed, which is looked at, outwardly and inwardly. We quite often give more authority to what is viewed than we do to the view. And therefore we easily say, this, whatever this might be, makes me so fearful, so afraid. This situation puts a real lot of pressure on me. I don't think I can work through all of this. I feel overwhelmed by all of it. It's what's going on in the world, what's going on in my mind. It's too much for me. That means that the object of interest, called the seen, the heard, the thought about, there is a transference, an unfortunate one, upon the object, giving it great authority over us. Whether it's called the thoughts, whether it's called the emotions, the state of mind, and what we see here, blah, 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 in the world. We're here to see the emptiness of living like this. You have had the experience, I can say with confidence because it couldn't be otherwise, where something or someone seems to have been difficult for you, or something in the inner life. I mean, we take a very, very simple example there of the multiplicity of them. You were in a relationship, and she, he, or other decided the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. And you really felt wounded, hurt, disappointed, let down. You experienced anguish, and you were afraid of living alone, afraid of not having this other person in your life anymore. And so the problematic issues were strong in you. And then time went by and changes began to take place in your view. And then very boldly and happily with your mates in the coffee shop, whatever, you said, God, I went through this horrible time. My lover left me, and I felt so lonely. I felt afraid of just being with myself every day, and etc., etc. But then I changed, and I began to see, wow, my life is opening up. Wow, I don't have to have all these conversations about what shall we do today. where should we go on holiday or whatever should we live here or live somewhere else? I can really make my own decisions. And then comes the jackpot one-liner. And just you can all hear me okay. The jackpot one-liner is, gosh, the loss, the separation of that relationship. Just a minute. I'm just being asked to, looks like, to call. George, just a moment. Hi, George. Did you ring me? Hun? No. All right. Okay. All good. Okay. Thank you. Bye now. All right. All right. We're flowing along, long here. So, and then one has changed, and then comes the jackpot one-liner. The person's departure from my life was the best thing that happened to me. I didn't realize how much benefit I got from this significant change in my life. What the person is saying in kind of Dharma language here, gosh, I see the emptiness of all these fears and being afraid of being alone and being cut off and what might happen to me in the future, whatever. I see the emptiness of it. Why is the person seeing the emptiness of it, seeing the futility of all the suffering? It's because the person reflected, person beginning to experience things in a fresh way, there is a fresh view. And that fresh view is liberating. It's liberating from the suffering. Is there any situation in your daily life where the fresh view will reveal and show to you the emptiness of fear? It's there. It might require meeting with the other, skilled in these things, or a friend who's not just going to go rambling on about their own parallels and their own story with your story. That's got nothing to do with empathy, by the way. Empathy is about listening and understanding. And so, and we also can look, what is a fresh view? We may not have the answer, but we're interested because we don't want the suffering. We don't need it. And when we emerge out of it, that is what liberation is about, even in the singularity of the event. Parallel would be the inner. In the inner life, there may be suffering, or in some cases, knowing it will lead to suffering. We'll take a common one for those for smoking. So, person smokes, whatever the amount might be. It doesn't seem to having any impact on the physical, whatever. And days, weeks, months, and years go by, maybe decades may go by, and then the person, knowing people with cancer, different kinds of cancer, lung cancer being the obvious one, but throat cancer and others, whoa, this could happen to me. And the person stops the smoking as a wise act of support and protection for their biological makeup, as well as their emotional and thought world as well, and stops the smoking, as an example. And in that person may have made a great step in protecting themselves from cancer and other serious illnesses there. They've seen the emptiness of smoking. So we are deeply interested there. And just to say with regard to that, it's not about fear of, oh, I might get cancer in my 50s or 60s or 40s or whatever. Not about fear. Fear is the contraction. Fear is the holding into the status quo. It's about the clarity in the view which brings about a healthy change. And in the healthy change being established, there is the seeing through those years, decades maybe, of the habitual picking up of the cigarette whenever. Therefore, I'm just using a couple of examples in the life to show the emptiness of. So coming back now to the second area. Is there any area in your life you may not be suffering over, but you know you would if that relationship with the object, whether it's called the cigarette, whether it's called another human being, whether it's called a job or whatever, if that dropped out of your life or you experienced the outcome of it in later life or nearer, which is problematic. Anything that stands out for you. And I'm father, Nashona, she's a co-teacher with me on our mindfulness teacher training course, and I'm a grandfather. And whenever I mention about awareness, sensitivity, vulnerability, and particularly the potential for suffering over, I immediately, first thought, does come daughter and the grandchildren. We can't guarantee the health and the life of any human being, including our own and including our most deeply loved ones there. So it's an ongoing vigilance for those challenging times when there is a sickness, a health condition, or whatever it might be, to be calm and steady and not get caught up in the wave, any wave of fear and the thought that goes with it. It's not supportive. It's not skillful. We need the love and the compassion and the awareness and the sensitivity to respond to those situations with our loved ones. This is what I'm talking about. When we come to the, my gosh, just looking at the watch here. When we come to the when I was a monk, 3 years in a very strict Vipassana monastery, the teacher would come in. We would never know when Ajahn Tamataro or Ajahn Buddhadasa, my other teacher, would stop talking. I think the longest was probably around 3.5 hours. And we just sat and read it. However, you know, you've only got me for half an hour here. Sometimes in the spiritual world, meditators, mindfulness, there, we are told, behind all the presentations, which is called the seen, the heard, the smelt, the thought, whatever, behind all the presentations, there is the eternal. There is the true reality. There is God. There is the infinite. And so if you look behind or deeper than the presentations, what you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, there it is. I don't see the evidence. I'm not convinced of the viewpoint, and I think it's an odd kind of duality there. So one says, the reality, the truth is behind all these things, and sometimes I get access to that, and then sometimes in the spell of what I see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And then one can find consciousness moving back and forwards between the two. So if you can free yourself up to any idea of above, called transcendent, deeper than, called transcendent, and let's work with what we actually experience and see in this immediacy of life, and make that the priority. And if we can make that the priority, perhaps we don't need to try and have a transcendent experience. Perhaps we don't need to try and go deeper and deeper there. And we don't need just to settle with our everyday way of looking. So these are important points to reflect upon. So we're not going to exaggerate or project some profound significance about the here and now. It honestly, it don't buy it. It doesn't have it. What that really means, therefore, there, we see what is presented. And we see in the dynamics of what is presented, the seer, the seeing, and the seen, and the others that I mentioned to you, genuinely suffering arises at times. We wish to know where that is. What's the relationship that we have? We're not saying I am the cause of my own suffering. That's a nonsense idea. We're not saying others are the cause, or we're both causing it together, etc. So we're not putting a first cause there. And we're just seeing what is taking place clearly, without making things a first cause. In that, to know the being, to know life, well, is, as pointed out, where the issues are arising. And when that issue, like the smoking of the cigarette as one example that I gave there, a problematic issue which you know you're never going to go back to again, it confirms you've seen the emptiness of it there. And to see the emptiness can't be a theory. It frees up the being. And the freeing up of the being isn't because I've transcended my life. It isn't because I've gone so deep. It isn't because I'm projecting a view there is something behind the presentations. I'm not stuck with those kind of viewpoints. I've simply looked at life, and in a simple way, life doesn't have the teeth of the tiger, so to speak, nor the claws. It's lost its power either in the view or in the circumstances to be causes and conditions for suffering. And that isn't so dramatic. What I mean by that, in a couple of examples, the relationship is over. You saw the emptiness of all the fears and the anguish about it. You've understood, you've emerged freely out of it, you're getting on with your life. Since you have experiences of this, whether it's called relationship to job, money, home, partner, and all the other kinds there, since you have experience of this, therefore, it's in your field of experience. If you remember this, if you say, gosh, yes, that's true, I did emerge out of it there. If it can be done for one, and you've got the confirmation of it, and there's much more than one in your life, then every area of life you can know liberation from, without dependency on God, without dependency on some ultimate reality, without dependency on a conventional reality. You are free. It's not that big a deal. As I said earlier, it's only 6 areas to work with. And you're not also dependent, the other view I should mention too, there is consciousness, and consciousness is the truth. Consciousness is everlasting. Where on earth did one give the reason to give that some independent existence? It would mean you and I, we achieve this huge, there is only consciousness there. We would die, I mean the body would die, yeah, and we would be left for eternity conscious, because we're in consciousness and it's eternal, forever. No, thank you. All right, enough said. Let's have the quiet minute together, and then I'll give you the guided meditation. So we are just sitting, with the posture rather tall, and when there is some calmness and relaxation, we settle in more easily into what is arising now. The variety of sensations in the body. So we're not interested nor concerned with having an out-of-the-body experience. We're just experiencing the body. So there is the experiencer, the interest turning to the body, and out of that, the experience of the body emerges. And sometimes the sensations, whatever they are in the body, will impact, generating the experience, and the experiencer, the witness, the mindful person, is then obliged to experience the body. So we initiate him sometimes, as now, or the body comes and registers with us, so to speak. Perhaps right now there is the authentic, genuine sense of well-being. The sensations, vibrations, throbbing, tingling, itching, warmth, comfort, whatever. So perhaps right now there's no suffering, no pain, perhaps right now no problematic issues going on as far as we can see, that the experiencer can see or feel or know. So the physical is not a problem in this moment, in this time. So the seeing can this seeing stay steady when the condition of the body changes? An accident, a virus, loss of energy, a health condition. Can there be a seeing with no power to trigger fear and worry, and the initiative to take wise steps? So to use the Buddha's metaphor, there may be an arrow in the body. It does not have to be an arrow in the mind as well. That means an unhelpful way of looking. Looking, in this case, a fearful looking, not based on the situation. It doesn't cause fear as a condition of the body. It's based on the habitual way of reacting. That is worth remembering. It is based on the habitual way of, fear is based on the habitual way of reacting. It is not based on the condition of the body. So fear is not what you think it is. It is not, in this case, the physical or any other object. It is not the cause of fear. There may be unpleasant sensations, feelings and tone sensations arising, of course. We wish that it didn't arise, of course. And knowing that one needs to respond to it, of course. That's out of clarity, out of wisdom, out of intelligence. That's not fear. If this, shall we say, principle applies in the relationship to the physical, then it applies in all the other areas as well. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, feeling, and so forth. So we are truly interested in liberating the being from the contraction of suffering, from the intensity of identification that makes such a problem for us. Of really mistakenly believing she caused me so much suffering, he, other, caused me so much suffering. My love for whatever brought about for me so much suffering. Love has never caused any suffering. It's not possible. Love is love. It's the identification with, the clinging onto, the holding onto, the resistance, the fear of the inability to handle change. That's where the suffering is. So we engage in practice, in exploration. We remember the benefits of coming out of a problematic situation and feeling more free and open. And sometimes we don't have to come out of something gradually. Sometimes it occurs in the transformational insight. You just see clearly and it dissolves the problem. Therefore, the remembering of situations we have emerged out of, like a chicken out of the shell, the emergence of the butterfly, we emerge out of the contraction. Dharma teachings are pointing to this. Nothing in the world has the power to inhibit contraction. To keep it. We can know a freedom of being through seeing the emptiness of all these contractions, and including any contractions around birth and death, beginnings and endings and what goes on between. May all beings see the emptiness of the problematic mind. May all beings appreciate the potency of the transformational experiences and insights. May all beings know a liberated way of life. Right, thank you for lending the ear. The Buddha used the language, lending the ear. I rather like it. not demanding 2 ears, one is enough. Sometimes on some themes, 2 ears is important. All right. So I'm going to do a click down here. Go to the chat column. Voila. Okay. Question. It's an interesting question. So much of what you have been talking about this week resonates with neuroscience, interoception, and the predictive brain. I'm thinking of Antonio Damasio and Lisa Feldman Barrett, particularly. And yet you also mentioned that you are not interested, forgive me if the wrong word, in science. I would love to hear more about this, as I find it wonderful when science and spirituality, perhaps also the wrong word, meet. I'm actually writing, preparing something for the Post, an article on this. And my concern with science in general and in particular, at times, there can be a tendency to focus on the particular, and the reader, people like me, I left school at 15, I don't have any qualifications, ends up with a sense that the primary cause is in a particular place. So it's a little bit of the vulnerability of in neuroscience, the way it comes across, everything about the brain. It shows itself in reductionism, as where the reality is. It easily neglects emotional factors, is not included in the reality, the feeling world there, not the interdynamic, and all the causes and conditions that make up the brain, etc. So, yes, science can make a contribution there, but I don't think it has a clue about knowing what true reality and liberation is, because of its tendency towards the specific as a cause, as sometimes the cause there. So, yes, but a fine institution with strong unresolved ethical problems, making of warfare that science contributes to, and more. But these are teachings of liberation. And it's the teachings of liberation and the focus, which people like me, as you might imagine, regard as a truly spiritual, if you like, I like the word spiritual endeavor. So that's my view, and but I keep reading and keep learning from science there, but I think it's an institution, like many others, religious institutions and political ones, and can't have any claim on what true reality is all about. It offers a useful view. All right. Did you say, I thought somebody might ask this because it wasn't quite what it meant. Anyway, did you say during the meditation, nothing has the power to inhibit contraction? As soon as I said it, I thought, oh, a misword. I do apologize here. What I meant to say was, and I didn't say, was the opposite. Nothing has the power to inhibit liberation. That's what I meant to say. So contraction is not inevitable. And we just have to notice it and be aware that is what it is. Oh, no, 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 no. So it's a very understandable question. I do apologize there. And sometimes one hears this said in the mindfulness meditating Buddhist world quite a lot. Oh, just observe it. Just see it. Just notice it. No. It's far too passive a response, I would say. Sometimes we really need to give full attention, ask lots of questions, a lot of reflection there, bring it into discourse, conversations with another, all with the interest to resolve. And we bring that energy and power and quiet determination to things using all the resources possible. We then can dissolve what the problem is, and that generates the fresh viewpoint. Just being mindful, it's pathetically limited there, because the mindfulness is dependent, and awareness and consciousness, on other factors which nourish it: energy, interest, focus, dedication, and much, much more. We're interested in bringing the whole being into a liberated way of being. And therefore, that was what should have been said in the guided meditation. Hallelujah. Question. I loved your challenging perspectives this week, Christopher. So would love a response to a question I often ask. My question is, what can you do when you face being alone in life? I have 2 people left now, having suffered a death last week, and are frightened of this reality. This conversation question I really feel for. And with the passage of the years, and I see myself as a small servant of the Dharma, and having been engaged in the teaching process for 50 years, probably be a rare month I don't hear of somebody who I've known well, friends, loved ones, and Dharma practitioners and relatives and others who are in this world and have passed from this world. One of the great tragedies of the individualism, the neurotic individualism in this society, and the self that goes on, that beautiful and sensitive people begin to feel alone and isolated and a bit frightened. And if they don't have any relatives, they have no children, my God, what is going to happen to me? And somehow or other, we need to develop community. We've lost, or we're losing much of community. That will require steps. So to give you a small example, a person was on the retreat, and she said to me, unexpectedly, she found herself with lung cancer. She couldn't understand the coughing, it wouldn't go away, and then she found this out. And she felt very lonely, terribly fearful, afraid of dying, and much, much more. And then she had an idea. And I have to say, myself being one of those who are fierce critics of Facebook, relationship, Instagram, and the censorship, many other things, but that's another story. More importantly, this, she found a group, I think it was 700 people around the world. And this group was people with lung cancer who have never smoked. And she was one. And she said that community in touch with her, even though it's in the virtual world, she said to me, really was giving me immense support. And as the Buddha said, there are 3 jewels in life, and the third one, Sangam saranam gacchami. I go for refuge in the Sangha. And therefore the Sangha are people of the earth who give us support. And we may need to look at what's going on in our local community. What groups might we connect with? And really make that a priority as well. And the other is, can we go from loneliness, which is at an epidemic level in our society, and unfortunately somewhat intensified for some people by the lockdown with COVID, can we go from loneliness to quite a change, love of aloneness and love of connection with the non-human world? Sky above, earth below, trees, flowers, etc. Some people have emotional comfort by having a kitten, a cat, or a dog. So our relationship with the creature world, our relationship with the natural world, to really love that and enjoy that. If you put those factors together, much of the anxiety or the fears and the worries will go down considerably. So do reach out. But let me go back again. All right. So kind invitation from Ruth to for me to read the Marcio and Feldman Barrett, and I will definitely check it out, and thank you for your response. Are there any other questions? Question: once we realize the emptiness of certain addictions or associations between object and outcome, such as medication, relationship, job, then why associate with any of them? Or in what way associate with them? For instance, why to be married, etc. But on the last point, I'm the wrong person to ask, because in my life I've had some absolutely 5-star relationships, but I've never been married, so it might be good to ask a married Dharma teacher their views about marriage. So in the earlier now, here's life being the dynamic of a relationship. That relationship includes in it, and it's a really, really good point here. There's a relationship of what is arising, sometimes called the present, the here and now. But it's an effect. It's an effect of the influences of the past upon the present. That's one relationship. Is that problematic? The influence of the past on the present. There is a relationship to the present, to what is arising there, and what is the relationship you have, just with the bareness of the present, called seeing, hearing, etc. What is that relationship? The other is the predictive one. There is a relationship to the present in terms of prediction, expectation, in relationship to the outcome, the fruit, the consequences of what will or might be, medication being one of them, job, etc. It's the same problem, meaning there can be a healthy response from the past which helps give support to the present. There can be an unproblematic one which brings suffering to it. There can be the way of looking at the present, which is calm and clear and spacious, unproblematic, but the way of looking at it is problematic. And similarly, relationship to the future. All three, past, present, and future, and the mutual influences between all three are worth looking at. And you and I regularly, we're getting an hopefully, inspiration to do something, to start something. You don't want to be stuck in repetition. We get, we plan something. This morning after I talked with you in a couple of hours, I got to go and see the bank and that. So there is planning involved. Back to the same question, same thread with you over the days. Yes, let's engage in the three fields of time, past, so-called past, present, and future. Let's engage with all three periods of time, and let's see if we can dissolve the worry, anxiousness, greed, fear, habit, whatever, in the engagement. And therefore, in that, there is an authentic sense of there is time, they are constructions, but the real truth that they are the confirmation of the timeless, because they're unproblematic. Not easy to meditate, please, to reflect on, to give time to look at, to consider this relationship with the three fields of time in a non-problematic way. Know that freely. Well, yeah, the best. All right. A few other responses here, and we're just coming to the end of the period. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your kind presence. And sometimes in the act of the listening there, it may be just one or 2 points, maybe, or more, which really stand out for you. And therefore, it's listening. Sometimes it's reflecting upon. Sometimes it's an instant clarity and insight, because you're listening outwardly, but you're also listening inwardly. And this gives some wisdom and frees up the being for the daily life. Make this a great priority to free up the being to reveal love, friendship, empathy, generosity, service for the welfare of people, creatures, and our natural world. That's our engagement. This is what the reality is all about. All right. And thank you very much for the kind donations and support. As you can imagine, all the background work to make these events happen, lots of causes and conditions and dedication for a whole range of people, and your donations really help with the support. Bless you. Thank you. Right, I'm done. All done. And I'll ring off now. I'm going to have a quick look at the questions, and anything unanswered will be done during today after I've been to the bank. Okay, thank you.